Bear markets tend to be in a position where you get people so scared that they're scared to rush back in, right? So it takes a while. So if we go back to like the 2017 highs here, and then the bear market, you can see we even had this long period and then kind of this, and then you can see it for a long time, it almost went sideways before starting back up again. So you got to think that that's going to be the same sort of thing. First thing I'm seeing right here is yes, it is. I mean, it is holding support. I think this would be probably the proper trend line to kind of keep an eye on. So you're right. As long as it holds this trend line, that's fine. If this breaks, then that's where trouble starts. But certainly you had a big wide range candle here. This is kind of not the greatest inside bar because it retraced the entire thing. Those are always a little bit troublesome. But the bottom line is it looks okay to me. I'm not sure if it's the most amazing chart in the world, but I think that as long as it holds this trend line, it's fine to stay long. I think it's fine. But again, just watch in case that breaks. Yeah, so I'm in with you on that, is that, I mean, if you look at past cycles, it's anything but a V shape. And the reason is bear markets tend to be in a position where you get people so scared that they're scared to rush back in, right? So it takes a while. So if we go back to like the 2017 highs here, and then the bear market, you can see we even had this long period and then kind of this, and then you can see it for a long time, it almost went sideways before starting back up again. So you got to think that that's going to be the same sort of thing. In terms of when it will start that next bull run, you know, the common theme would be like the bear markets usually bottom out 12 to 18 months after the top. So if the top was November, this November to the following like March, April, May. But my fear again is that you have to be aware that with the Fed not printing, it makes me worried that this bear market could be a little bit longer. But I think in the very least, you say 12 to 18 months before the bottom is in. At least we're getting close to November, so that's good. But that's why I still think there's more downside at minimum to get us to November or through November. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm in the camp where this is the first bear market where the Fed's not printing money. So in the very least, we should do 80 to 85%. And then that's the one fear, is that it could be a little bit worse because the Fed's not printing. Now, if the Fed starts printing again, that wouldn't change potentially my view on it. So I think that's something I'm paying attention to. I also think regulation in the crypto space is unbelievably important to have before we get that bottom. So what I'm even thinking is we might get regulatory kind of notes out about what they're going to do with the altcoins, and that could cause a flush, but that could be the bottoming flush where you buy into it. Because I think there's a lot of big money that's saying, hey, listen, we can't put $1 billion in crypto even though we want to, because we don't know the framework. What's the framework? How is the SEC going to regulate? But once they know that, they may feel more comfortable. So I think, again, I think you got to look at 80, 85% at minimum, maybe a little bit more, but watch for the Fed starting to print again, and then also watch for regulation to finally be figured out and the market to know. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I agree with that. I think, like, for me, I've been through enough bear markets in my stock career, commodity career, and now crypto, where bear markets usually, remember, just like markets tend to go higher than any of us think, they also tend to go further to the downside because greed and fear are just so pervasive and powerful emotions. So for me, I look at crypto, and yeah, it's been a nasty decline, but it's not that kind of flush out where you're seeing, you know, the Twitter sphere calling for like zero Bitcoin. And I think that's something that I want to see, to the point where you're seeing a lot of the retail crowd just kind of throw in the towel. And then I'll start to actually get bullish, more bullish on it. But by the way, and just one other thing, it doesn't mean that I'm going to wait to 12 to 13,000 to buy a little Bitcoin. So as it comes into the teens, I actually picked up a little at that 19,000 handle. But it's just kind of, I'm going to dollar cost average from there on down. And so I might be still buying if it gets to 5,000, but the idea is that you don't know where the exact low is and you don't want to miss the bear market. And I agree with you that we're closer to the lows, the bottom, than not at this point. So, you know, I still think we're going to go down 12, 13, maybe even lower. But I think because none of us know, I don't want to miss the next bull market. I'm a long-term bull on Bitcoin. So you just kind of dip your toe in the water, you know, as it kind of comes lower at that point. So I don't use cold storage because I worry my kids will find it and drop it in the toilet, or like the little the little disc or whatever. But I will say this is that absolutely I have multiple. I think I have 4 crypto accounts with different brokers, and I do that on purpose to diversify out in case someone hacks my account and like takes it. Like at least I'm only losing 25% of my money at that point, because you don't have FDIC insurance, which you do have in the stock market. So there's really, I mean, it's the Wild West. And I've had situations where my SIM card's been jacked and they've gotten into it. I mean, it's crazy out there. So you got to protect yourself. I mean, if you have like $1,000, maybe it's not worth having multiple accounts. But once you get north of a certain amount, you definitely need to diversify with multiple brokers to diversify your holdings and really just protect yourself. I should too.
Yeah.
But
I do use multiple
too. And yeah, no, I should too. And it's something that I want to get to that point. Mm-hmm. I just gotta, get more advanced in the crypto markets and stuff like that to feel more comfortable with it. But it honestly is probably the right move, Guy, I think that there could be a future for it, but I've got to learn more about it. But one of the reasons why I like crypto is that I really love that aspect, like with Bitcoin, where there's a maximum run of 21 million. And from what I know about XRP, that's not the case. And so I have a hard time investing in something, at least heavily, where it doesn't have that scarcity, because then I ask myself, well, what's the difference between a fiat currency and something that a company can or XRP can just print unlimited? And I could be wrong on this, but everything I've heard is that that's the case, is that there's no stated maximum. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. I just don't understand enough about it. But by the way, these things are growing on me. I'm learning more about XRP. I'm learning more about other coins, and I do think even if they're considered securities, then there is value because so many people are using them. And I do think there is value in some of these. I'm just not a huge XRP fan yet. Yeah, sure. In fact, I just had brought it up. I always like to take these looks when we're talking about something. And look at this. I mean, is this a wedge pattern of epic proportion or what? So basically, for those of you out there that don't understand wedges basically are price actions getting tighter and tighter, and it's usually like a spring, right? So it's winding that spring tighter and tighter, and eventually you see how this gets to a head. What this is telling you is that XRP probably in the next month to 2 months, by October, is going to have to break out or it's going to collapse down. And my guess is because it's winding so tightly, it's going to be a big move. Now, the amazing thing, we talked about this earlier, how charts can predict the news. Wouldn't shock me here if right around September, October, we hear from that judge about this aspect of what's going on with XRP, and then that's going to create either that breakout or that breakdown. So it's coming. I mean, I would say within 2 months, we have something big on XRP that's either going to shoot it up or it's going to collapse it.